In the country I live in, there is extreme poverty. For some months now, there has been a lack of electricity too, and during the first half of the year, the weather is hot. So, whether you are at home trying to relax after a long week of tedious work, or at work trying to focus on your tasks and be more productive, doing such basic human things has come to be synonymous with a miracle. You can imagine the scenery. Many are in a bad mood and complaining almost all the time. Around a few months ago, there had also been a restriction on the internet. Everybody had to use a VPN to surf the web. During those times, too, we were all complaining. After all, something we were accustomed to was removed from our hands, the internet access. And before that, we had electricity so we could use air conditioners when it was hot. The country also looked somewhat a little more stable compared to today. Still, we had reasons to complain. Today, we may not have as much as we once had, but certainly we have other invaluable things in our hands. What will we learn from those experiences? Will we keep on complaining, or will we instead become more appreciative of the many gifts we have been given? Will we keep on clinging to the past, or instead, will we understand and accept the seasonal and cyclical nature of life? I think that it's normal for us to complain a little when basic modern day human necessities are removed from our lives, especially for no valid reason except tyrannical ones. I also think that such events show us how dependent we have become on tools, and also how much we seem to take things for granted, especially when we consider the amount of work people have put in over the centuries for us to enjoy today's modern conveniences without necessarily receiving enough recognition for them. Since it's a poor country, you can suspect that its so-called leaders are corrupted to the core. And as you may very well know, when we live in constant fear about whether someone is going to try to take us out someday or whether we lose our money, and so on, we try to portray strength through the use of force, which is what's happening here. Actually, it's nothing specific to this place. It happens all over the world. It's just that it manifests itself in varying degrees. As an example, a president from another country was visiting recently, and almost all the main roads were closed for the convoy to pass. And God, this convoy must have had around 100, if not more cars, and soldiers, and weapons. For what exactly? This country is almost a village. What or who are they trying to intimidate? Beggars? More importantly, what must go through man's head for him to believe that he is superior to another man? Right now, I am specifically speaking about the country I live in, but this is a global phenomenon. Some of us are more silent about it, while others clearly believe God gave them some rights of superiority over mankind. What gives me or you the right to do as we please, just because? At times, people tend to feel like they're part of life's forgotten souls, those that have been abandoned for some reason. When you see how the strong keeps getting stronger, while the weak and meek keep getting weaker, you tend to feel powerless. The dreams you had some years ago seem like a child's fantasies compared to the reality of your daily experiences. And overall, living with such beliefs about life, which are obviously furnished to us through our colleagues at work, through friends and family, through the media, makes us feel shrinked, contracted until we eventually settle for the bare minimum and lose our spirit bit by bit. I have been having such conversations with friends and family these days. Since things aren't doing well and it has been so for longer than expected, people started being less optimistic about the future. I can say this because I know how such friends were before. We grew up together. Today, however, it's another story. They are intelligent, creative, and full of potential, but they don't seem to fully believe. And it's not a matter of forcing oneself to believe again as many do. It's mostly a matter of understanding what is preventing one's flame from burning as brightly as it once did. I think that it relates to the beliefs and views we have gathered over the years, to the emotions and misunderstandings we have stalked through our experiences. Even if it's not always the case, when people feel cornered, it's difficult for them to stick to their principles, and I believe that's one of the reasons why many people we never would have imagined doing things like stealing, as an example, start to do so. On the other hand, some people seem to cope with challenging times by resorting to more passive means such as partying, smoking, drinking, etc. Of course, it's fine from time to time, but when it becomes vital for our well being, as it's the case for a good number of people, something is not okay here. I even have a friend who wanted to open a club here, saying it's one of the rare businesses that's doing well at the moment. A lot of people appear to be passive today. Their eyes lack life. It's again a global matter, too. It is true that things are not looking as they once were. Let's be a little realistic too. The past belongs to the past. Things were the way they were during those times because there was a different context. We were different. The stakes were different. We've all changed now. The context is different now. The stakes are different now. And the moment we get attached to how things are presently, the future will come with its own requirements too. We will have to adapt. That's just the way it is. It's also true that the fact that others, whether it's our colleagues or loved ones, and of course without forgetting the media, are often pushing their views and beliefs on us, sometimes unintentionally, while others intentionally. If we aren't fit, we are overpowered, and slowly but surely we adopt those beliefs until they become part of who we believe to be as a person, what we believe we can do and cannot do as a person, and ultimately how our life turns out to be, because at the end of the day, our life is the synthesis of the choices we make day after day. I am saying all this because I don't think it's accurate to perceive reality under these shades of gray. Yes, things are as they are. We are not avoiding the facts. Yet, why should we allow all of this to get so deep under our skin? Why derive such a conclusion simply because everyone else believes it? What about me in my essence? How do I perceive things right now? Why don't I necessarily agree with those views? Why doesn't it affect me as much? I am not different from you, then why? Why can't I help but see beauty through all of the man-made chaos and despair? Why can't I help it but still melt at the sight of a flower, at the majesty of life, at the subtle voice that sings its way through the veil of what my physical senses only can perceive? Someone told me once that in their culture, people believe the environment decides one's life direction. To this person, I replied, I believe that regardless of the environment, and yes, the environment does have its impact on us, one can still take the reins of one's destiny. Do you see, I continued, at the end of the day, it remains a matter of how we reason, what we believe in, and going a little deeper. It's really about understanding the construct of our psyche. Books help, role models help. What helps even more is looking carefully at what's inside of us. Some years ago, I remember asking desperately, how do I do it? Where do I begin? What should I do? I understand now why I wasn't given a blueprint or a step by step process. The thing is, it's a lifestyle. We have roles to fulfill in the world, and as we keep experiencing setbacks after setbacks, failures after failures, whether it's in our personal relationships, at work, how successful or not we are, whether we are capable of achieving our goals, and so on, we start shifting some of our attention inside. Perhaps the life we've always dreamed of may become a possibility once we start looking at how we may have, often unknowingly, prevented ourselves from living it. A lot of us trust our education to schools and universities, which are fine for practical purposes, but when it comes to our own growth as a person, most of us are clueless. Growing as a person? Well, my body is definitely growing. I suppose that's what you mean. No, you grow too. You, as a person, grow too. Such subjects are rarely discussed at homes or in schools. We are therefore not prepared, we are not fit, and unless we are, it's difficult to go against the sacred cows coming our way. And there are many, from almost every corner of the earth. At the end of the day, and yes, there are outer forces that have their effect, it's still in our hands. It's up to us what we do with our life. I hope you enjoyed this little adventure with me. I'll leave you with those thoughts for now. Until next time.